Dear viewers, welcome to LogosTV Coptic Civilization Program. I'm Michael Saad. Today's episode brings to us a special honor and blessing, as it is entitled Archbishop Georgios III of Cyprus speaks to LogosTV. We at LogosTV are indebted to his Beatitude, Archbishop Georgios, for his gracious acceptance to be our guest. We are also indebted to Professor Michael Henein for conducting the interview at the Archbishop's headquarters in Nicosia. Professor Henein is Professor of Cardiology at British and Swedish universities and Vice Chancellor of the European Academy of Coptic Heritage headquarters in London, England. Welcome, Dr. Henein.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saad, for the kind introduction.
We are grateful for your idea, and it's your initiative, and we are LogosTV indebted to you. It's a fascinating country, Cyprus, fascinating church, and fascinating and highly admirable Archbishop Georgios. When one reads his biography, we see here his Beatitude, Archbishop Georgios. He was enthroned as the 76th head of the Cyprus Orthodox Church at St. Barnabas Cathedral in Nicosia on Sunday, 8th of January, 2023. His Beatitude with the formal liturgical clothing. And here is Dr. Michael Henein with Father Cyprianos, who is going to translate the interview. Dr. Henein, where is this photograph, please?
This was taken just in front of the St. Barnabas Cathedral, which is the headquarter cathedral of the Greek Church of Cyprus in Nicosia. And we have with us here Mr. Michael Kountouris, a close friend of mine who arranged this meeting and delivered me to Nicosia.
What was the motivation? How you initiated this interview on, and I'm grateful for that. What is your motivation and opportunity to achieve the interview?
Thank you very much for the question. Yes, indeed, I heard about his Beatitude enthronement early this year. And when I inquired about his background, I learned that he was originally a chemist, then decided to study theology. And as you know very well, lots of people around the world believe that science is an enemy to religion. So having here a head of a very important church in the Middle East, combining both together, so he's wearing two hats, a scientific one and a theological one. That was very attractive to me. So I wanted to interview him and get his views, which I was certain they would be very balanced about a number of issues that we face in our time now. And I wanted to learn from him about those.
Indeed, he has a fascinating biography, and the first part of the interview you kindly. And I want to share with you and the viewers the uniqueness of the Church of Cyprus, as is shown in the verses from the book of Acts, chapter 4 here, that there was a Levite, a native of Cyprus, Joseph, to whom the apostles gave the name Barnabas, which means son of encouragement. He sold a field that belonged to him, then brought the money and laid it at the apostles' feet. Barnabas lived in Jerusalem, but he was a Levite from Cyprus, and he became a giant apostle who later would be a companion of St. Paul. Actually, he was the one who brought St. Paul to Antioch and started the first missionary activities of St. Paul. Now those who were scattered because of the persecution that took place over Stephen traveled as far as Phoenicia, Cyprus, and Antioch. And they spoke the word to no one except Jews, but among them were some men of Cyprus and Cyrene, who, on coming to Antioch, spoke to the Hellenists, also proclaiming the name of Jesus. And here in this map, we see where Jerusalem is, and then here is Phoenicia near Tyre in Lebanon, and then here is Antioch at the north of Syria. And then we know that St. Paul and St. Barnabas went from Antioch to Salamis in Cyprus, and then preached all the way to Paphos at the other end of the island, and many miracles and believers came to Christianity by the concentrated preaching by Barnabas, Paul, and St. Mark as their companion. And then they went from there to Asia Minor, and Mark left them and returned to Jerusalem, and from there he went to Egypt. So we see that this is the island Salamis, and the path of St. Paul and Barnabas and Mark to Paphos, and Paphos became the diocese of Metropolitan Georgios before he became the Archbishop of Cyprus. And then we need to mention the uniqueness of beside the above, that Cyprus was part of the early church, important part of the very early church. The uniqueness of the Church of Cyprus, Cyprus itself was mentioned in Genesis chapter 10 as the descendants of Noah, and the name is Kittim in verse 4. In verse 6, it's Egypt mentioned. So Cyprus and Egypt share a long history, thousands of years before Christ. And we know that Lazarus, the friend of Christ, whom Christ raised from the dead, became the first bishop of Cyprus, and his tomb is still there. And I would like also Dr. Henein to, and the dear viewer, to mention the conversation between you and the Archbishop is going to cover these challenges, 5 challenges: Christian marriage and divorce, church approach to sexual orientation, youth ministry, unity among Christian churches, Cyprus and the world. Dr. Henein, why did you choose these 5 items in part 1? And of course, there are other challenges that you will cover in part 2. Before we put the interview, I would like to ask you, why did you choose these challenges to discuss with his Beatitude?
Before I answer the question of the challenges, I would like just to add a comment, if I may, about Cyprus. Geographically, Cyprus is a very important island in the Mediterranean Sea. It's the closest island to the eastern region of the Mediterranean Sea, in particular the Holy Land, Jerusalem and the surrounding cities. Also, it occupies the southern part of Asia Minor and the northern part of Africa. So its geographical location is very, very important internationally. As for the issue of Christianity in Cyprus, Cyprus is very rich in churches. Now we're talking about southern part of Cyprus, not the northern occupied part. Very rich in churches, very rich in monasteries. I also, as we'll hear from his Beatitude, about a couple of examples, particularly St. Minas Monastery and the monastery of Stavrovoni, where there is part of the cross brought to Cyprus at the time of Queen Helen, the mother of Emperor Constantine in the 4th century. And finally, there is another very, very important monastery called Kyprianos. And it's a famous monastery, and lots of Greeks come from all over the world to visit and take the blessing of that holy place. As for the challenges, as I mentioned early on, we live in a very difficult time. Life is changing very fast. Technology is influencing our life and the belief of many. So therefore, putting this together in front of a scientist and a theologian, I thought definitely he should be able in a position to give us very, very good advice, and explanation of the way how things developed and the best way to move forward, carrying on the continuous development of those challenges over time. Thank you.
Great. Then let us watch what the Holy Spirit have said to the Church of Cyprus at the mouth of its head, his Beatitude, Archbishop Georgios III.
Μακαριότατου και σεβασμιότατου Αρχιεπισκόπου Νέας Ιουστινιάνης και πόσης Κύπρου Πατρός ημών ποιμένος και εθνάρχου πολλά τα έτη.
His Eminence Archbishop Georgios, very warm welcome to Logos TV, the Coptic Civilization Program. Likewise, our Honorable Father Kyprios, very warm welcome to you too. Your Eminence, congratulations for your recent election, the Archbishop of Cyprus, which was in December 2022, correct?
Yes. Ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ για τις ευχές σας και για το καλωσόρισμά σας στο σταθμό σας.
Thank you very much indeed. I understand that this recent election followed a very long journey of hard work and great achievements in your life. Could you kindly summarize the most important stations that led to that election, the Honorable Archbishop of Cyprus?
Βέβαια, η εκλογή δεν ήταν αποτέλεσμα της δουλειάς που έκανα εγώ προηγουμένως, αλλά ό,τι γίνεται στην Εκκλησία είναι από το θέλημα του Θεού.
The election was not the result of the work that I have done previously. Whatever happens in the church is happening because of the will of God.
Ξεκίνησα από ένα χωριό στην επαρχία Λάρνακος, τέλειωσα το δημοτικό εκεί, τέλειωσα το Πανκύπριο Γυμνάσιο εδώ στην Λευκοσία και ακολούθως σπούδασα χημεία και θεολογία στο Πανεπιστήμιο Αθηνών.
My life started at a village in the Larnaca district. I had my studies there at the village school. I went for primary education. Then I carried on here at Nicosia at the Pancyprian Gymnasium, secondary education. And then I studied chemistry at the University of Athens.
And the theology.
And after chemistry, I studied theology as well.
Μετά από αυτό είχα κάνει μια μετεκπαίδευση στην Αγγλία και στη θεολογία και στη χημεία.
Following that, I had postgraduate studies in England at the Institute of Education at the University of London, chemistry and theology joined together.
Εργάστηκα ως χημικός σε ένα εργαστήριο αναλύσεων πετρωμάτων και ακολούθως ως καθηγητής της χημείας στα γυμνάσια της Κύπρου.
I worked as a chemist at the fossil laboratory in the chemical industry, and later on I worked as a teacher of chemistry in secondary education in schools all over Cyprus.
Κατά τη διάρκεια της θητείας μου ως καθηγητής στα σχολεία, χειροτονήθηκα διάκονος το Δεκέμβριο του 1984 και πρεσβύτερος τον Μάρτιο του 1985.
During my service in secondary education as a chemist teacher, I was ordained as a deacon in December 1984 and as a priest in March 1985.
Εξακολούθησα να διδάσκω χημεία ως κληρικός στα σχολεία και αργότερα διορίστηκα και ως γραμματέας της Ιεράς Συνόδου της Εκκλησίας της Κύπρου.
I carried on teaching chemistry in secondary schools, the secondary education sector, and then I was also appointed as the secretary of the Holy Synod of the Church of Cyprus.
Το 1996 είχα εκλεγεί ως επίσκοπος Αρσινόης και χειροτονηθήκα ως επίσκοπος Αρσινόης και το 2006 ως Μητροπολίτης Πάφου.
In 1996, I was elected Bishop of Arsinoi in the hierarchical district of Paphos, and I was appointed as the Bishop of Arsinoi. And then in 2006, I was elected Bishop of Paphos.
Μετά την κίνηση του μακαριστού προκατόχου μου, εκλέγηκα κατά τις διαδικασίες του καταστατικού μας χάρτη, πρώτα από τον λαό και μετά από την Ιερά Σύνοδο ως Αρχιεπίσκοπος τον Δεκέμβριο του 2022.
After our late Archbishop passed away in last November, I was elected according to the Constitution of the Church of Cyprus as a member of the electionable bishops by the people. And then I was elected by the Holy Synod of the Church of Cyprus as Archbishop.
What a combination to be expert in chemistry and then theology. So after working in chemistry for a while, what made you think of studying theology?
Η σπουδή της θεολογίας ήταν πρώτη στο μυαλό μου και λόγω κάποιων οικονομικών δυσκολιών δεν μπορούσα να σπουδάσω τη θεολογία. Έπρεπε να πάρω μια υποτροφία για να σπουδάσω κάτι στη ζωή μου. Επειδή τέλειωσα ένα πρακτικό γυμνάσιο που ήταν κατεύθυνση θετικών επιστημών, μπορούσα να διεκδικήσω μια υποτροφία για να σπουδάσω την χημεία, κάτι που δεν μπορούσα να κάνω για τη θεολογία, γιατί δεν είχα τα λατινικά ως σπουδή. Και πέρασα τη χημεία πρώτα και μετά.
Theology was my first choice, but due to certain financial conditions, I needed to have a scholarship to further studies. And a scholarship it was easier to get a scholarship in chemistry because in the secondary, in my secondary education, I didn't have Latin as a lesson, which was prerequisite for studying, for the exams for entering the theology sector. So I got a scholarship in chemistry. I studied chemistry first, and then when I got that degree, I had the financial means to study theology as well. And that's how I
Wonderful.
ended up studying chemistry first.
Wonderful.
Μετά την χημεία εργάστηκα κάποιο χρονικό διάστημα ως χημικός σε εργαστήριο και με τα χρήματα που πήρα σπούδασα και την θεολογία.
Graduating as a chemist, I worked in a laboratory, in a chemistry laboratory first, and with the money that I have, the financial aims I have received, I managed to study theology afterwards.
Laboratory is ergasterium.
Ergasterium.
We use the same word in our book of prayers in the Coptic Church. Right. One more comment, if I may. For a clergy eminent person like your good self to be appointed teaching at school, it suggests that you were very, very special in chemistry and very experienced. That's why they insisted to appoint you, correct?
It's not exact. No, όχι.
Δεν είσαστε κληρικός τότε.
Δεν ήμουν κληρικός όταν διορίστηκα.
I was not a cleric when I was appointed at the schools.
Και να ήμουν κληρικός, η νομοθεσία μας το επιτρέπει.
But even if I was a cleric, the law in Cyprus permits that. It's not against the law.
And the church accepts that.
And the church accepts us, of course. Yeah.
Okay, very good.
There are many secondary school teachers and primary school teachers who are priests, not only theologians.
Έχουμε όμως ένα μισθό. Δεν πληρωνόμαστε και από τις δυο μας δουλειές.
The salary that somebody receives when he's working in the public sector is from the public sector. He's not being paid by the churches or otherwise.
From going through your CV, I felt that you have lots of other areas of interest outside chemistry and theology, like Byzantine music, for example. Can you tell me a bit more about that?
Τα ενδιαφέροντά μας είναι ποικίλα, όπως είναι όλων των ανθρώπων.
Our interests vary, like everybody else. All the people have various interests, hobbies.
Η βυζαντινή μουσική είναι ένα από τα κύρια γνωρίσματα της Ορθόδοξης μας Εκκλησίας.
Byzantine music is one of the basic characteristics of our Orthodox faith and church.
Και κυρίως όμως η υμνολογία μας, η συγγραφή των ύμνων και η κειμενοποίηση τους, είναι κάτι το οποίο πάντα με ενδιέφερε.
Most importantly, the hymnology, the writing of the hymns, not the music as such, but the level of theology in the hymns itself is something that was one of my basic interests.
Μέσα στην υμνολογία μας βρίσκει κανείς όλη τη θεολογία μας.
Through the hymnology, through the study of the hymnology, one can find all the theology of the church embodied in there.
Πώς μπορούμε να συμπεριφερθούμε και απέναντι στο Θεό και απέναντι στους συνανθρώπους μας.
This theology directs us how to act against our fellow humans and in front of God as well.
Στα ενδιαφέροντα μας είναι και η τέχνη της Εκκλησίας.
Within our interests, the hobbies are also the art of the church, the art in the church.
Γιατί μέσα από την αγιογραφία, την εικονογραφία μας, φέρουμε και το δόγμα της ενανθρώπισης του Θεού και της σωτηρίας των ανθρώπων.
Through the icons, through the iconography, the hagiography of the church, we can also express the dogma of the incarnation of our Savior.
Παραδείγματος χάρη των Χριστών μπορούμε να τον απεικονίσουμε γιατί έγινε άνθρωπος όμοιος με εμάς.
We can depict Christ because he has become human, similar to us.
Ενώ δεν μπορούμε να ζωγραφίσουμε τον Θεό Πατέρα.
But we cannot depict God the Father, which we haven't seen, we haven't known.
Yes. Wonderful, wonderful.
Πέραν όμως από αυτά τα ενδιαφέροντά μας, στην Κύπρο το κύριο ενδιαφέρον μας είναι η απελευθέρωση της πατρίδας μας, η οποία κινδυνεύει από αλλόθρησκους.
Beyond these interests, though, in Cyprus, our main interest is the liberation of our motherland, which suffers from people from different faith.
Δεν κινδυνεύει η πατρίδα μόνο, κινδυνεύει και η θρησκεία μας.
It's not only the motherland that is under threat and under imminent danger, but it's also our religion, our existence on this land.
Σε αυτά τα πλαίσια κινείται η ζωή μας.
Within this framework, our life moves along.
Yes, yes. Brilliant. We do have lots of Greek hymns in our church that we use regularly. For example, Kyprianos Simeron, Tosinon Archon Logon, Christos Anesti. We borrow them all from the Greek church. Probably our melodies might be slightly different, but the words are exactly the same. My understanding, which I would like to hear your opinion about, is that the music is supposed to highlight the power of the words, as you rightly said, the theology in the words of the hymns. So the music is like someone painting a picture, for example, putting the right colors on the right area in order to highlight what he wants the viewer to be attracted to. The same applies in music. Would you agree on that?
Βέβαια, γιατί εντυπώνει μέσα μας τα μηνύματα των λέξεων η μουσική.
Of course I agree, because it imprints within our souls the messages of the hymns. The music is the tool that imprints the message in our soul.
Και με τη μουσική είναι πιο εύκολο και να αποστηθήσει κάποιος κάτι και να μάθει το δόγμα.
With music, music makes it easier for somebody to memorize the hymn and learn the dogma as well.
You must be an excellent singer, correct?
No. Δεν είναι, αλλά μου αρέσει να ακούω.
I am not, but I enjoy listening, good singing.
He's very humble, I must say. Very. Okay, now if you allow me, we need to move to some of the problems that are facing our world and our church in our time now. The problem of divorce is getting very, very difficult, and people can't stand each other for the slightest reason. Not like 50 years ago, our parents and the grandparents, how they lived together for 50 years of marriage. The new generation is somewhat different. What do you think about the problem, one, and what would be your advice to the newly married couple?
Νομίζω ότι η αλλαγή του τρόπου ζωής μας
I think that the change in our way of life
οδήγησε σε αυτό το κατάστημα.
led to this.
Ερχόμαστε πολλές φορές σε επαφή με πολλοί κόσμο. Συγχρονισμός
Very often
ανδρών και γυναικών.
contact with many people, men and women come together.
Προηγουμένως οι γυναίκες έμεναν στο σπίτι.
Earlier on, the position of the woman was within the premises of the house.
Που μπορούσαν να βοηθούν τα παιδιά τους και να μεγαλώνουν τα παιδιά τους.
They could help raising their children and their family.
Τώρα η συναναστροφή με άλλους άντρες στην ίδια δουλειά οδηγεί πολλές φορές και στα διαζύγια.
But now women are out in the market and working, coming along with other men as well. And this is one of the reasons that marriages, it's a change in the way of life.
Και η οικονομική ανεξαρτησία των γυναικών πάλι οδηγεί στην ευκολότερη διάλυση του γάμου.
The financial independence of the woman also can lead to an easier dissolution of the wedding, of a marriage.
Πιστεύω όμως ότι στην Κύπρο
And I believe that in Cyprus,
ακόμα είμαστε σε πολύ καλά επίπεδα
we have a good level
ως προς τη διατήρηση του γάμου.
Very good.
maintaining marriage.
Τα εκκλησιαστικά διαζύγια παραμένουν περίπου στο ίδιο επίπεδο που είχαμε και τις προηγούμενες δεκαετίες.
Weddings dissolved by the church remain more or less at the same levels we had in previous decades.
Πολλοί γάμοι που γίνονται μόνο σε πολιτικό επίπεδο, που μπορεί να είναι και μεταξύ ανθρώπων διαφορετικής θρησκείας, λύονται πιο εύκολα και πολύ περισσότερο.
Many weddings that are performed in a civil level, often weddings like this are between people from various religious backgrounds as well, can be dissolved more easily, more faster.
Εν τούτοις προσπαθούμε να κρατήσουμε και το δικό μας ποιμνιό, τους δικούς μας πιστούς, σε μια παραδοσιακή οικογένεια.
We try very hard to hold our faithful and our people within the framework of a traditional family.
Wonderful.
Και η δουλειά που γίνεται στις ενορίες μας από τους ιερείς,
The work done by our priests in our parishes,
και η δική μας προσπάθεια μέσα στην κοινωνία,
our
τα
effort in
κηρύγματα
the
μας,
society without preaching,
είναι να κρατηθεί ο κόσμος σε αυτήν την παραδοσιακή κατάσταση του γάμου.
is to maintain people in this traditional way of the wedlock.
Στις τόσες δυσκολίες που συναντούν τα παιδιά και οι νέοι στη σύγχρονη κοινωνία, να μην συναντούν και τη δυσκολία του χωρισμού των γονιών τους.
Young people today face many difficulties in the modern world. They shouldn't also face one more, which would be the divorce of their parents.
Absolutely, absolutely. I heard that the Greek Church, and the Cypriot Church, of course, allows marriage and remarriage 3 times. Is that correct?
Μέχρι 3 γάμους τους επιτρέπει ή μάλλον τους ανέχεται η Εκκλησία. Ευλογεί τον πρώτον, τελεί τον δεύτερον και ανέχεται τον τρίτον.
Until 3 marriages can be tolerated by the church. The church blesses the first one,
Τελεί τον.
conducts the second one, and tolerates the third one.
I understand. Right, this brings us to the second contemporary problem, which is homosexuality and gender identification. And I'm sure you would agree with me that this issue is getting louder and louder around the world, everywhere. I would like very much to hear your views about how best we deal with this situation, one, and how the church sees it, and how the church embraces people who claim that they have same-sex attraction.
Η Εκκλησία πιστεύει, η Ορθόδοξη Εκκλησία, και εγώ προσωπικά πιστεύω ότι ο Θεός άψεν και φίλοι επίσης τους ανθρώπους. Έκανε 2
The belief of the
φύλλα.
Orthodox Church, and my belief, my personal belief as well, is that God has created male and female.
Το αν κάποιοι στη διάρκεια της ζωής τους είτε συνηθίζουν είτε παρασύρονται στην ομοφιλοφιλία, αυτό δεν μπορεί να βρει μια δικαίωση στη δημιουργία του Θεού.
If somebody within the path of their life, they either decide or they are trapped into the attraction of the same sex, this cannot find a justification within the story of the creation by God.
Επίσης πιστεύουμε ότι το φύλο δίνεται από τη φυσιολογία του ανθρώπου και όχι από τη διατύπωση του ίδιου τι νομίζει ότι είναι.
We also believe that the sex is defined by the physiology of the body and not by the belief of an individual.
Όμως η Εκκλησία στέκεται με συμπάθεια στους ανθρώπους που έχουν αυτόν το πάθος.
But the church, we have to say, stands with sympathy towards these people who share this passion.
Και προσπαθεί όπως ένας γιατρός να θεραπεύσει αυτόν το πάθος.
And like a doctor trying to treat an illness, the church is trying to help healing this passion.
Η Εκκλησία καταδικάζει την αμαρτία, αλλά βοηθά τον αμαρτωλό να βρει τον δρόμο του.
Church condemns sin, but helps the sinner to find his path.
Επειδή ακούγονται πολλές φωνές σήμερα ότι υπάρχει κληρονομικότητα ή κάποιοι γεννιούνται έτσι.
Because there are many voices I've heard nowadays that there is hereditary
Predisposition.
issue and some are born like this.
Η Εκκλησία λέει ότι αν η ιατρική πιστοποιήσει πέραν βάσης αμφιβολίας ότι αυτό είναι κληρονομικό, πρέπει να εγγύψουμε στην Αγία Γραφή για να βρούμε απαντήσεις.
The church says that if the medical profession proves that there is a clear indication with no doubt that this is hereditary, then we should look into the scriptures to seek and find new answers.
Τέτοιο δεν γίνεται από την ιατρική μέχρι σήμερα.
Something like this is not confirmed by the medical profession nowadays.
Absolutely, and most scientists in the field, they highlight the importance of individuals' upbringing as the most important factor that sort of directs them into, if I may describe it as not the usual path, male and female, because of the way they were brought up, in addition to lots of psychological, emotional, all matters to deal with upbringing within the family, at school, within the community, that affects personalities.
Και όπως οποιοδήποτε άλλο πάθος χρειάζεται αγώνα από τον άνθρωπο για να το καταδικήσει, έτσι να γίνεται και πάλι.
Like any other passion that a human can face in his or her life, it's a struggle to be overcome. In this case as well, a struggle is needed, like everything else in a human's life.
Yes, and as you rightly said, we are still waiting for medical strong facts, confirmation whether it's predetermined by genetics or not. We wait for that. This brings us to another problem, which is the youth who will not have the chance to be brought up in the church. And they see the church is still following 3rd and 4th century teaching, and how can these teachings convince them or bring them close to church in the 21st century with lots of attraction around particular technology? What would you say to these people?
Στην Κύπρο τουλάχιστον και στον ελληνικό χώρο έχουμε τα θρησκευτικά ως μάθημα στα σχολεία.
In Cyprus at least, and in the Greek-speaking world, Cyprus, Greece, we still have the religious education being taught in primary and secondary schools.
Wonderful.
Και είναι αναγκαστικό αυτό το μάθημα, υποχρεωτικό.
It's a compulsory subject in the education system.
Και προσπαθούμε με τους ανθρώπους που διδάσκουν αυτά τα θέματα να εισάγουμε και τις νέες έννοιες που εισάγει ο πολιτισμός μας και απέναντι στην θρησκεία.
And this through the people who teach these lessons to introduce the new ideas, new meanings, new
interpretations
that are being introduced by our modern civilization.
Excellent.
And try to forward them for discussion within the lessons, the secondary,
Δεν θα πω ότι τα αποτελέσματα είναι άριστα, αλλά είναι πολύ καλά.
I'm going to suggest that we have perfect results, but we do have good results in this procedure.
Wonderful.
Η Εκκλησία ακόμα σε ώρες μη σχολικές διατηρεί τα λεγόμενα κατηχητικά σχολεία και τα καλοκαίρια λειτουργεί τις κατασκηνώσεις της, τις οποίες φιλοξενεί τα παιδιά, τους νέους και μπορεί έτσι να δώσει και
during the hours that are not outside the school life, extracurricular activities, has the so-called Sunday schools, the catechetical schools. It also maintains summer camps for youth.
Και
With this,
δίνει την ζωή και τη διδασκαλία της μέσω
the
αυτών των
church
καταστάσεων.
is portraying, is giving, having to the youth the teaching and the life of the church in such an environment like the catechetical school or the summer camp.
Και είναι γνωστό ότι
It is well known that
το μήνυμα του Θεού
the message of God,
είναι διαχρονικό. Δεν απευθύνεται στους ανθρώπους μιας εποχής, αλλά στους ανθρώπους όλων των εποχών.
the message of God is not directed to the people of one era, but throughout the centuries to the people of all ages.
Και προσπαθούμε με το νέο περίβλημα της επιστήμης, της τεχνικής, των
Right, with the
computers,
new cover of science, of computer science, of new technology,
να δώσουμε το βασικό μήνυμα της
the
Εκκλησίας.
basic message of the church.
Wonderful. We tend to do exactly the same thing. The line of catechism, Sunday school classes, and hymnology and Coptic music, exactly the same way as you do.
Και εκείνο το οποίο έχει σημασία είναι να ξέρει ο κόσμος και η νέα γενιά
Also great importance for the people to know, for the new generation to know
ότι
that
καμιά επιστήμη και καμιά πρόοδος και καμιά τεχνολογία
no science, no progress, no technology
δεν μπορεί να εκφράσει το μήνυμα της λύτρωσης του ανθρώπου από το Θεό.
can express the message of salvation of human by God.
Είναι κάτι το
Cannot be
προσωπικό,
expressed through science. It's something personal.
το οποίο πρέπει να ζήσει ο καθένας μας προσεγγίζοντας τον Χριστό με την καρδιά του, με την διάστησή του.
This message is something personal which has to be lived by each individual within its heart and within his senses.
It's spiritual. Yes.
Όταν ο Απόστολος Παύλος έλεγε ότι
When Paul was saying
Έλληνες σοφία ζητούσι και Ιουδαίοι σημείων ζητούσι,
the Greeks are looking for
Yes.
wisdom, but the Jews are looking for a sign.
Correct.
αναφερόταν στην αναζήτηση όλων των εποχών
To the research throughout all ages,
να φτάσουν το απόλυτο αγαθό.
to the search to reach the absolute good.
Άλλοι το προσπαθούν να το πετύχουν μακριά από τον Θεό,
Some people are trying to achieve that away from God,
όπως την πυργοπία στη Βαβέλ.
like the Tower of Babel.
Babylon.
Ναι. Ενώ άλλοι προσπαθούν μέσω της προσέγγισης του Θείου.
Others are trying to achieve that through the approach of the divine.
Είναι κάτι το οποίο
This
θα
is
συναντούμε σε όλες τις
that we
εποχές.
will always meet in all ages. These
Και η Εκκλησία,
different types of approaches.
και η Εκκλησία πρέπει να βάλει και τους νέους αλλά και τους μεγαλύτερους, όλους τους ανθρώπους, στο σωστό κανάλι για την αναζήτηση αυτού του αγαθού.
The church has to help both youth and older generations. Has to help them to enter the path for seeking the good and the divine.
Absolutely.
Εκτός της Εκκλησίας, ο λόγος για τον Σταυρό, για την Ανάσταση, για τη σωτηρία του ανθρώπου, απλώς παίρνει χαρακτήρα της λογοτεχνίας, της ιστορίας.
Outside the church, talking about the cross, the salvation, the character of man, this has the characteristics of literature and art. It's this approach that happens outside the church.
Μέσα στην
But within
Εκκλησία
the church,
παίρνει τον προσωπικό χαρακτήρα για τον καθένα για τη σωτηρία του.
talking about the cross and the salvation, this is getting a personal character for the personal cross, the personal salvation of each human.
Wonderful
within the
approach.
church.
Wonderful approach. Now we come to even more difficult group. People probably who are brought up in the church, but they decide to leave the church. Why? Because they can see division between churches. And they say, no. We cannot have too many Jesuses. One each church, and they all hit each other and they fight together. What do you think of this problem?
Έχετε δίκιο
You are right in this.
ότι το παράδειγμα μας είτε θα ωφελήσει είτε θα βλάψει ανθρώπους.
Our paradigm will either help or will either cause damage to humans.
Ο ίδιος ο Χριστός είπε ότι οι άνθρωποι δεν προσέχουν τι τους λέμε, αλλά τι πράττουμε.
He said that the people do not pay attention to what we say, but to what we do. It's our actions that matter for the people.
Indeed.
Γι' αυτό και αν κηρύσουμε σωστά, αλλά κάνουμε διαφορετικά, αντίθετα από αυτά, δεν θα ωφελήσουμε τους ανθρώπους.
Therefore, even if we do preach the right preaching, but our actions differ from our preaching, we are not going to cause any good to other people.
All in vain.
Και έρχομαι στο ερώτημα σας ότι η διάσπαση του χριστιανισμού έβλαψε.
And I come to your question that the breaking of Christianity
Έβλαψε την ανθρωπότητα και τους ανθρώπους.
brought damage to the humanity and to the people in general.
Και θα πρέπει να σκύψουμε με πολύ προσοχή σε αυτήν την κατάσταση, γιατί όπως είπατε και εσείς, ένας Χριστός υπάρχει, μία Αγία Τριάδα υπάρχει.
We have to bend over, we have to kneel in front of this situation, all of us, and do it with, be very cautious in doing so, because one Christ exists,
Μία Αγία Τριάδα.
one Holy Trinity exists, one divinity.
Πολλές από τις διαιρέσεις μας οφείλονται και σε κάτι που προηγουμένως δεν μπορούσαμε να καταλάβει ο άλλος γλωσσικά.
Many of our divisions rely upon linguistic differences.
Correct.
Some of these divisions were created because we were lost in translation.
Correct.
Όπως παραδείγματος χάρη με την Κοπτική Εκκλησία, η οποία δεν μας χωρίζει ουσιαστικά τίποτα παρά μόνο ήταν μια παρερμηνία κάποιων όρων της Τετάρτης Οικουμενικής Συνόδου.
Like, for example, the Orthodox Church with the Coptic Church, there is nothing really that divides our churches. It was a misunderstanding of a paragraph of the Fourth Ecumenical
Absolutely.
Not one paragraph, όρους.
Not one paragraph, some terms of the
expressions. Yes.
Όμως η διαίρεση μας για τόσα χρόνια έβαλε μέσα μας ήθη και έθιμα τα οποία δυσκολεύουν την
But
προσέγγιση
our
μας.
division for so many years has brought into our lives of our churches customs and traditions
Of course.
that make this division even bigger.
Yes.
Γι' αυτό τουλάχιστον σε όσους μας συνδέει σωστή κοινή πίστη πρέπει να έχουμε μια κοινή προσέγγιση τώρα για να δώσουμε και το μήνυμα της ενότητας στον κόσμο.
At least to all those of us who share the same
Faith.
and common faith, we should have a same approach so that we could give the message to anyone.
Της ενότητας.
So that we could give the message of unity.
Yes, absolutely.
to the
Absolutely.
people.
May I suggest the way I see it? Yes, you're absolutely right. Separation, not division, separation of 15th century resulted in some development of some differences, put it this way. But I would like to see it in my humble way, that separation resulted in lots of richness in each church over centuries that developed and became established. So now if we meet together with all this richness background, definitely we'll learn a lot from each other. We do that in fact in London, if I may mention an example, thanks to our late Archbishop Georgios of Thyatira. He was a very good friend for us anyway. And he allowed us to conduct joint concerts between the Byzantine choir and the Coptic choir and other choirs too, the Syriac and Armenian. And we celebrate Easter, we celebrate Christmas, Theophania and Anastasis from darkness to light and others. And you can't believe the spirit of 5-6 different choirs standing on the stage together, all of them singing together Christos Anesti in Greek, irrespective of their background and the language they use for their praises. So these examples have sort of resurrected, if you like, the spirit of unity, even at the level of singing, which we are really happy with.
Συμφωνούμε απόλυτα και πρέπει κάτι αυτό να το επιδιώξουμε.
We absolutely agree. I think this is something that we should seek. We should.
Γι' αυτό και μερικές λέξεις είναι διεθνείς. Το Αλληλούια, το Αμήν, το Χριστός Ανέστη. Και εκφράζουν τον άνθρωπο.
Χριστός Ανέστη.
Now we come to the last question of this session. Cyprus is geographically positioned in the middle of the world. What is special about Cyprus to the world Christians?
Πάντα η γη είναι σφαιρική και επομένως κέντρο μπορεί να θεωρηθεί οποιοδήποτε σημείο της γης.
Always the earth is a sphere. Therefore, any point on earth can be considered the center of the universe.
Μεταφορικά το λέμε βέβαια.
Metaphorically speaking, of course.
Και ευνοηθήκαμε από το Θεό να είμαστε κοντά στην Αγία Γη που έγιναν τα συνταρακτικά γεγονότα της γέννησης, της Σταύρωσης, της Ανάστασης του Χριστού.
For our island to be close to the Holy Land,
Absolutely.
where all these salvation events part, the crucifixion, the resurrection, the establishment of the first church.
Ακόμα ευλογηθήκαμε από τον Θεό να είμαστε και Έλληνες στην καταγωγή.
We were also blessed by God to be Greeks in our ethnic origin.
Και ο χριστιανισμός διαδόθηκε με την ελληνική γλώσσα
was spread in the Roman world through the Greek language
και με την ελληνική τέχνη.
and through the Greek art. It was a universal art at the time.
Absolutely.
Και επομένως δημιουργήσαμε μια παράδοση από την αρχή του χριστιανισμού στην Κύπρο.
Therefore, a tradition was established, was created from the beginning of Christianity, from the roots of Christianity here in Cyprus.
Και έτσι μεγάλοι Άγιοι μας είναι παγκόσμιας εμβέλειας.
Therefore, great sense that we have as a Church of Cyprus,
Ο Απόστολος Βαρνάβας,
like Apostle Barnabas,
ο Άγιος Σπυρίδων,
Saint Spiridon of Trinithus,
ο Άγιος Επιφάνιος,
Saint Epiphanius of Constantia,
Άγιος Ιωάννης ο Ελεήμων.
Saint John the Merciful.
Είναι Άγιοι που μαγνητίζουν όλον τον χριστιανισμό.
They are saints that attract the whole of Christianity.
Yes.
They are saints have a world appeal.
Yes.
It's not they are not limited to the boundaries of Cyprus.
Επίσης, ο γρήγορος εκχριστιανισμός της Κύπρου μας έδωσε την ευκαιρία να έχουμε και πολλά μνημεία και πολλά μοναστήρια που έχουν παγκόσμια φήμη.
Christianization of Cyprus from the first 50 years of Christianity gave us the opportunity and the blessing to have monuments of universal values,
Definitely.
Παραδείγματος,
universal heritage.
η Αγία Ελένη ίδρυσε το μοναστήρι του Σταυροβουνιού.
Saint Helen, the mother of
Constantine.
Constantine the Great, established the monastery of Stavrovouni.
Στην Κύπρο έχουμε και άλλα μοναστήρια, Κύπρος, ο Μαχαιράς, ο Άγιος Νεόφυτος.
We also have other great monasteries, Kiko, Macheras, Saint Neophytos.
Αυτά που κράτησαν τον χριστιανισμό όταν είχαμε ξένη κατοχή για πολλούς αιώνες.
These monasteries were the pillars for maintaining the faith of the people during the foreign occupation which we had for many, many centuries. It was the monasteries that kept the faith of the people.
Yes, the same like in Egypt.
Και στα τελευταία χρόνια είχαμε έναν αρχιεπίσκοπο ο οποίος ηγήθηκε και του αγώνα για απελευθέρωση του τόπου μας, ο Αρχιεπίσκοπος Μακάριος, που έδωσε στον κόσμο μια διαφορετική έγκλη για την Κύπρο.
And in the later times, we had also an archbishop who led the liberation struggle of Cyprus and gave to the people the
Έδωσε μια λάμψη της Κύπρου σε όλο τον κόσμο.
Gave a glance of Cyprus in the whole world with this liberation struggle against colonization.
You have a monastery by the name of Agios Minas, correct?
Yes.
Is he Agios Minas of Egypt or?
Yes.
Oh, wonderful. So you can see we have lots of commons. Not only we dress in black like you, but also saints we share together.
Ο Άγιος Μινάς είναι στρατιωτικός Άγιος.
Saint Minas is a military saint.
Yes, absolutely.
Και στηριζόμαστε σε αυτόν για την απελευθέρωση του τόπου μας.
And we're relying on him for the liberation of our land.
Absolutely.
Είχα μάθει ότι στο Ηράκλειο της Κρήτης ο καθεδρικός ναός είναι του Αγίου Μινά. Τον έχτισαν όταν ετοιμάζονταν για την Επανάσταση και ήθελαν έναν βοηθό.
What I have learned is that in Crete, in the island of Crete, the cathedral at Heraklion is dedicated to Saint Minas, and it was dedicated to Saint Minas as such because they were preparing for their revolution and they wanted a leading saint to be a military saint.
All right. Yes, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you very, very much for this lovely meeting, and I'm looking forward for some more meetings of this style, probably focusing more on issues that concern the youth, much more than the believers who will establish in the church. Thank you very
Και εμείς
much.
ευχαριστούμε πάρα πολύ.
We also thank you very much.
Και εγώ αναπολώ και την επίσκεψη μας στην Κοπτική Εκκλησία, την οποία κάναμε με τον μακαριστόν Αρχιεπίσκοπο, στον Πατριάρχη Σενούτα, στον Πάπα Σενούτα.
Our visit to the Coptic Church, which we had with the late Archbishop
Shenouda,
which was a visit to Patriarch Pope Shenouda.
Ah, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you, Father Kipris.
Indeed, this has been a very beneficial interview. I want to share also what we talked about, the relations between Egypt and Cyprus from ancient times, the first Christian communities in Cyprus and Egypt, how they flourished from the very early church, how Saint Barnabas and Saint Mark were co-workers for Christ in Cyprus and Egypt, how the monastic life flourished in both countries and interacted together, and especially the foundation of St. Mina Monastery in both Egypt and Cyprus, and the common Greek heritage, and also the fellowship in blood, and especially under foreign occupation, how the two Christian communities in Egypt and Cyprus shed their blood for the love of Christ. I would like to ask you for a concluding remarks for this episode, part 1, and looking forward to part 2 as well.
Thank you, Dr. Saad. I'd like to highlight a couple of comments, if I may. The first one is, it is very well known that there are lots of things that are shared between the two churches, the Greek church, and here the example is the Church of Cyprus and the Coptic church. And I'm sure the viewer can easily decide based on the photograph you have just shown us about the photograph of the cathedral, that is very similar to the architecture of the Coptic churches that we have in various places. This number one. The icons, the iconostas, the vestments of the clergy, the way how they dress, the way how they wear crosses, even the bishops and the metropolitans, the way how they hold the staff in their hand during service, for example. Lots and lots of similarities and shared beautiful traditions between the two churches. That's what really attracted me to arrange this interview. Add to this, in terms of liturgical practices, we have lots of shared hymns between the churches, the two churches. I can tell you the commonest word that all our services are built on is Kyrieleison. This is a Greek word. This is not a Coptic word. And we need to remind ourselves of this fact. Likewise, Doxa Patri Keiouke Agio Pneumati. This is Greek verse. It is not Coptic. And many, many, many others. We don't have time for all that. So this is the first fact I wanted to highlight. The second one is, as time passes by, lots of challenges are and may affect individuals' faith. And this has become a very serious matter in the 21st century. And that was one of the reasons I wanted very much to interview people who have this sort of scientific background, as well as deep, strong, and powerful religious commitment to the Christian faith. And the first one among them that I was successful in arranging an interview with was His Beatitude, Archbishop Georgios III of Cyprus. I would like to take this opportunity to thank him from my heart for giving me almost 2.5 hours to have such an interview with him, with a warm welcome in his headquarters. And he promised that when he comes to London, he will come and visit me, which would be a real blessing to receive him here. Thank you.
Thank you. I am personally grateful, and on behalf of Logos TV and especially Coptic Civilization Program, thank you. This enriches the program tremendously. And if allow me to share with you, thanking His Beatitude and also thanking Father Cyprianos for doing the translation, and all the team who photographed, videotaped the interview. And we look forward to part 2 soon, God willing. Our viewers, thank you for watching this episode of Logos TV Coptic Civilization Program. I'm Michael Saad.
Rejoice